Welcome to the top 10 mountaineering stroke scrambling days out you can have in Scotland. These are some of the best ridges, buttresses, mountains, just some of the best days out you can have in the whole of Scotland. And it's all manageable by most people because these are just scrambles. Some of them are quite hard scrambles, saying that. They're not the easiest, so they are ones to build up to, acquire skills and confidence, all the rest of it. But these are manageable by anyone with a sense of adventure and a wee bit of sensible planning and preparation. Now what I'm going to do is go out and do every single one of these routes this summer and document it and make a wee how-to video on how to do these ridges. So if you want future videos seeing all of these routes in their glory, me scrambling along them and a kind of how to scramble these iconic routes, hit the old subscribe and like button, stick around and you'll see these videos later in the summer. See you there. Number 10, we have probably the nicest small mountain in the whole of Scotland, and that is Stac Pollaidh. It's a great mountain, amazing rock architecture, great scramble right across the top. It's a fairly small mountain, so nice and accessible. It's a fairly easy scramble at grade 2. It only has one hard move at the very end, and that's to gain the true summit. Apart from that, most of the difficulties can be avoided. However, it's an amazing, short, sweet, spectacular mountain to go scramble on, and the views are to die for. Number 9 is the CMD Arête on Ben Nevis. It's not technically on Ben Nevis, it leads up and round on to Ben Nevis. The Carnmore Gerag Arête is probably the best easy way to get to the summit of Ben Nevis. At a grade 1 scramble, it's the easiest scramble on this list, and I would recommend it's everyone's route to the summit of Ben Nevis. Ignore the tourist trail, take the CMD Arête. It's an amazing day out, easy scramble, easy in winter too, so one to practice your winter mountaineering too. Okay, working up the list to number 8 is Afterthought Arête in the Cairn Gorm. It's basically an amazingly fun ridge that leads up from Loch An back onto the Cairn Gorm Plateau just behind the northern corries there. You also get to visit Loch An and the Shelter Stone, etc., and you get one of the best ridge scrambles in the country, possibly the best one in the Cairn Gorms. It is a moderate, so it's at the top end of scrambling. It's a fairly extreme scramble. You might want a rope on if you're less experienced, or just save it until you're more experienced, but it is at the top end of scrambling, so one to save for when you're feeling confident and you've got a few skills in the bag. Okay, number 7, we are back on Ben Nevis, and it is ledge route. This is one of the first scrambling routes I did. It feels pretty epic to go up the north face of Ben Nevis and summit Ben Nevis via the north face, and it is only a grade 2 scramble. There's a wee awkward move near the top, but it is arguably the best easy grade 2 scramble in the country, and an amazing way to summit Ben Nevis. Okay, at number 6 we have a tie, so it's a bit of a cop-out, but it's on the buckle. Couldn't decide between these two. It's a tie between Curved Ridge and North Buttress on the buckle. Curved Ridge is a grade 2, it's quite an easy grade 2, one hard move at the very top, but it's a really fun, not too long, but a great ridge, great way to summit the buckle. North Buttress, however, is a moderate, so it is the extreme end of scrambling. I did it in slightly damp conditions, which basically made it more like a V-diff. It was quite terrifying, but it's an amazing route and also an amazing grade 4 winter route. But if you're feeling confident and you want almost the best way up the buckle that isn't a hard graded climb, North Buttress is your way forward, or Curved Ridge, which is a bit easier and a bit shorter. Okay, breaking into the top 5, and we have a personal favourite of mine, and this is Tower Ridge on Ben Nevis. It's one of the best ways to summit Ben Nevis. It is at the harder end of scrambling because it does have some short pitches of moderate. They're not very sustained though, but if you're not a confident scrambler, it's definitely one to save for when you are a bit more confident, or take a rope and a friend and practice your rope work, your scrambling technique, all the rest of it. But it's one of the best ways up Ben Nevis, an amazing winter route, an all-time classic. Go and do it. Okay, we're really getting to the big guns now. Number 4 is the Liathac Ridge. I've not actually done the whole ridge. I've been up onto the mountain in winter, but it is a spectacular ridge. It's up there with Aonach, Eagach and An Teallach and the Cuillin Ridge as just the all-time classic ridge scrambles in the whole of Scotland. It's quite a spicy grade 2, but the tricky bits aren't very sustained. They're short and sweet. So that's the Liathac Ridge, one of the best mountaineering ridges in Scotland. Okay, breaking into the top 3 now, all getting pretty exciting. This is probably the most spectacular looking mountain in the whole of Scotland. Certainly one of the top 3 ridge walks in Scotland. And this is An Teallach, the mighty, magnificent An Teallach. I've been up there again. I've been up there in the winter, went up one of the gullies. I've never actually done the ridge proper, so it is very much near the top of my list to do this summer. All of these routes I'm going to go out this summer and do them all one by one and document them and make a wee video about each one. And An Teallach has me pretty excited because it's meant to be absolutely epic. Again, it's a grade 3, so it's near the top of the grading system, so definitely one for the more experienced among you. It's also a very long route, so you know, you want to be feeling quite confident and competent being up in the mountain with that level of exposure that long. Okay, number 2, it's getting pretty exciting. I actually almost had this at number 1, if I'm honest. I've done it so often. It's one of my favourite routes in the whole of Scotland. Almost made it to number 1, but you'll see why it didn't make number 1 in a wee second. And number 2 is the Aonach Eagach Ridge, or just Aonach Eagach. The Aonach Eagach Ridge. It's a grade 2, fairly straightforward grade 2. There's nothing too lively about it. All the scrambling's pretty straightforward. The exposure though is sustained, and it does get to your head eventually if you're not used to that kind of exposure. So again, it's one to work up to by doing other slightly easier routes like ledge routes, CMD Arête first. But Aonach Eagach is one of the best mountaineering days out in the whole of Scotland, the whole of the UK, perhaps the finest ridge on mainland UK. Also, it is an amazing winter route, graded at grade 2 as well. But get out there this summer and do Aonach Eagach. I'll see you up there. Okay, number 1 is the Cuillin Ridge on Skye. A traverse of the Cuillin Ridge is an absolute iconic must-do for all scramblers, hill walkers and mountaineers in the UK. With 12 kilometres of continuous technical scrambling, 4,000 metres of ascent I think. It's a huge day out if you can do it in a day. A lot of people choose to do it over 2 days and bivvy out halfway along the ridge, which is probably what I'll do when I do it. I'm heading up there in a few weeks to do it. I'm up on Skye for work. Thought I might as well finally get around to doing the Cuillin Ridge. If it were mainland Europe, it would be one of the best ridges in the whole of Europe. But because it's on Skye, winter conditions are a bit fickle up there, it tends not to get the kind of winter attention it should do from Europeans, Brits, etc. But a summer scramble along the Cuillin Ridge is one of the best 2 days out you can have in the mountains. It does require some rope work. There's a couple of abseils if you want to bag the in pin. It's quite hard getting off the in pin again, probably have to abseil. There's some pitches of moderate, I think, maybe diff. But again, nothing too challenging. It's basically just a very hard scramble, but it's more of a mountaineering challenge because of its length, its exposure, its difficulty. So definitely one to aspire to. That's why it's number 1 on this list, because you can build your way up by doing all of the rest, and eventually you'll have the skills to take on the Cuillin Ridge on Skye. So that's my top pick. Cuillin Ridge on Skye, the number 1 mountaineering expedition that almost anyone can do.